Oh, hey, have you been flipping through a stunning cocktail book much like this one and thought, oh, that's an amazing cocktail. I want to make it. Oh, I have that. I have that. I have that. Ooh, simple syrup. Sounds complicated. Nah. What? Simple syrup is really simple. That's why they call it simple syrup. Are you one of those people who's afraid of simple syrup? Or maybe you just want to learn how to make different flavors of simple syrup. Well, you're all in luck. Today I'm going to show you how to make simple syrup simply, and also the 3 most popular flavors of simple syrup in Cocktail Chameleon. Plus, I'm going to show you 2 all-natural sugar alternatives. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get to it. Hey everyone, it's Mark Addison. Welcome to our new Bar Basics series. Well, we are breaking down all the basics of home bartending so that your drinks at home will be the best they can be. And also make sure you tune in to our series Shaking Things Up every week, where we shake up a new cocktail or 2, and hit that subscribe button and notification because you'll be notified every time we post a new video. So today on Bar Basics, we're talking about simple syrup, and it really is simple. The basic proportions for simple syrup are 1 part sugar to 1 part water, which you heat up just enough to melt the sugar, and voila, you have simple syrup simply. You can also infuse your simple syrups with different flavors and also choose different types of sugars to ultimately make your syrups. There are a number of sugars you can use. You can choose a white granulated sugar or a natural turbinado style sugar or even a dark brown sugar, but just be mindful of the type of sugar that you use because it'll deepen the flavor and the color of your syrup and ultimately affect the outcome of your cocktail. And as you go up the spectrum of color of sugar, you're going to be adding in caramelized flavors and even a darker, deeper molasses flavor to your cocktail. Now you can also use sugar substitutes such as maple syrup or honey, and today we're using our very own Vermont pure maple syrup and our natural raw honey, which is also available on our website. Now when it comes to flavoring your syrups, you can use dried elements such as herbs and spices, and you can also use fresh elements like lemon and lime peel and other citruses, as well as an array of herbs and even ginger. Once your syrups are complete, you'll need bottles to store them in. I really like to reuse or upcycle spirit bottles like this little rum jug or a 375 flask style spirit bottle. And I also like to use more professional style bottles when storing them in the refrigerator, like these little hot sauce bottles or these taller juice bottles. And don't forget to label your bottles so you know which syrup is which. I also like to use a label maker and when I'm keeping them in the refrigerator, or in a pinch, a little masking tape and a Sharpie marker will do just fine. As always, we'll be linking below the products that we use in our videos as well as the full recipe, so make sure you go down there and check it out. First, I'd like to show you how you can make simple syrup very simply in the microwave. So you'll take a half a cup of sugar, pour it into a microwave safe glass like a masonry jar here, and a half a cup of water. So that's our 1-to-1 ratio. And you're gonna give it a little stir just to get the sugar off the bottom. And then go ahead and pop it in the microwave. Set it for 1 minute and wait. Ooh, it's hot. Safety first. Oh, much better. There we have it. Simple syrup, simply made in the microwave. As easy as 1, 2, 3. Our first flavored simple syrup is going to be the most popular simple syrup in Cocktail Chameleon, the lemon lime syrup. It has so many great uses, from not only cocktails, but iced tea, and also a splash in some club soda will make your very own lemon lime soda pop. We're gonna use a pot on the stove for all of our flavored syrups because we want to bring the sugar and the water to just under a boil and then add our fresh ingredients, let them steep, and then we'll strain them into our bottles when they're finished. So to start, we're going to take a small pot with the lid, again, very important, and to that I'm going to add a half a cup of water. And then I have a half a cup of granulated sugar. And we're using granulated sugar in the lemon lime simple syrup because we want to keep that bright citrus color without muddying it down with a darker and darker flavored syrup. So I'm going to give that a stir just to combine the sugar and the water somewhat. And then I'm putting it on the stove top, uncovered, for about 5 to 10 minutes until it just comes up under a boil. Now our water and our sugar have come up to temperature, and now we're going to add the peel of 1 lime and about half of a lemon. So we're going to give that a little stir, and then I'm going to put the lid on and let it sit for 20 minutes or let it cool down to room temperature, and then your syrup is ready to bottle. Our syrup's been sitting for about 20 minutes and it's pretty much cooled down to about room temperature, so I think it's ready. And it looks absolutely wonderful. So to bottle it, we're going to first strain it. And I like to strain it into a measuring cup first because it makes pouring into the bottle much more clean and easy to do. So we're going to take the contents of the pan and pour it through the sieve into the measuring glass. And I'm just going to use a small spoon to encourage everything to come through and get every last drop of that delicious lemon lime syrup. So to bottle our syrup, I'm going to use a small funnel that fits into the neck of my bottle. And just as a precaution, I'm going to hold on to the funnel as I pour the syrup into the bottle. And look at that gorgeous lemony lime color. And trust you me, it tastes as good as it looks. All right, we're going to give a little top. And then we have the cap, and our lemon lime simple syrup is all done. And I highly recommend that you keep flavored syrups in the refrigerator because it keeps them fresher longer and you can enjoy them all throughout the seasons. Now we're going to make our apple pie spiced simple syrup, and I'm making a larger batch because I'm going to be using this simple syrup in a video coming up on Shaking Things Up where I'm making my baked apple martini, so stay tuned for that. Now we're going to be using turbinado style sugar because we want a little bit more of a caramelization type flavor in our simple syrup, and we're adding some bold dried spices to this simple syrup. So we have about 3/4 of a cup of turbinado style sugar, and we have a variety of dried spices like 4 cinnamon sticks. I have 2 vanilla beans that are cut in half, and I have 3 star anise and 8 cloves of garlic. We're going to be making this recipe on the stove top again, so I have a little bit larger style pot, again with a lid, very important. And we're going to take our sugar and put it into the pan, and then we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of water, which is equal part to sugar and water again. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients. So I'm going to put all of the dried spices in here, and we're putting them in the beginning because they are dried and they're going to take longer to impart their flavors in the syrup. So we're going to let them simmer in the water and the sugar when it comes up to just under a boil. So we're going to take it, put the lid back on it, and put it back on the stove for about 5 to 10 minutes. I allowed the syrup to sit on the stove just long enough so that the syrup came to just under a boil, and then I left it covered and let it cool to room temperature, and now we're ready to strain it. So we're going to take our syrup and we're going to strain it again into a measuring cup through a fine metal sieve to get all of those spices strained through. And it has this beautiful, dark, rich caramel color due to the turbinado sugar and, of course, all of our delicious spices. And now we're going to be using a large funnel again, and we will just simply pour it in through the funnel into our bottle. And I can see all the little bits of vanilla bean and spices filling through, this delicious smelling syrup as well. And here we have a adorable little flask filled with our apple pie spiced simple syrup, all ready to use for our baked apple martini. This simple syrup uses honey in place of sugar for our honey ginger simple syrup. Today I'm going to be using our very own Vermont pure 100% natural honey that we collect here on our farm. And we're going to be using 3 ounces of roughly chopped and peeled ginger to infuse into our honey. And of course, a little bit of water to thin it down just to make it a nice pliable syrup. I have a pot that already has my honey in it, and to that I'm going to be adding a half of a cup of water to about 3/4 of a cup of honey, because honey has a little bit of more of a liquid consistency already, so we don't want to water down our syrup too much, but we do need to loosen it up the honey a little bit, and we're going to add our 3 ounces of roughly chopped and peeled ginger. So we're going to cover the syrup and then put it on the stove and bring it to just under a boil, and then we're going to let it steep for 20 minutes and bring it down to about room temperature. I allowed the honey, water, and ginger to come to just under a boil. I covered it and allowed it to sit for about 20 minutes or till it came to room temperature. I really want the ginger to sit in the honey syrup for as long as possible to really fully impart its gingery flavor into our honey ginger syrup. Now we're ready to strain it and pour it into our bottle. So again, I'm going to be using a measuring cup for this and a fine metal sieve. And I'm going to pour the contents of the pot into the sieve and give it a good tap just to get all of the delicious honey gingery syrup out. And then we're ready to bottle. Now we're ready to bottle our honey ginger syrup, and I'm going to be using a small 5-ounce hot sauce style bottle today and a mini little funnel. So I'm going to put the funnel in the bottle and hold on to it just as I pour the honey ginger syrup into the bottle so I don't knock the bottle over, because it has happened before. And we're going to fill the bottle all the way up to the top. I like to use the honey ginger syrup in hot or cold tea, and I also used it in 4 cocktails in Cocktail Chameleon, including the Green Mary, the Bourbon Ginger Brew, and the Highlander Collins, as well as my version of an old fashioned, the Old Pal. So definitely check those out. This flavored syrup uses another sugar alternative, maple syrup. This is my Rosemary-Cider maple syrup recipe, and it's a totally different syrup where we're replacing the water with apple cider vinegar. This was inspired by our farm here in Vermont, and I'm using our rosemary that I've grown in the farmhouse garden, and we're using our Montalvat Farm 100% pure Vermont maple syrup, which we have available on our website, and I'll put that link below. And we're using a Vermont apple cider that is 100% organic and unfiltered. So that cider is going to cut back on the sweetness of the maple syrup, and the rosemary is going to impart a nice deep herbaceous quality for my Vermont-inspired Northeast Kingdom punch that we're going to be featuring on Shaking Things Up this week. So definitely check that out. To start, we're going to add 2 cups of Vermont maple syrup. And to that, we're going to add 1 cup of unfiltered apple cider vinegar. And then we're going to add 4 tablespoons of roughly chopped rosemary. And then we're going to cover, put on the stove, and we're going to allow it to come to just under a boil. Then we're going to take it off the heat and let it steep for 20 minutes. Now I've allowed the Rosemary-Cider maple syrup to steep for 20 minutes, and it's come to about room temperature, and we're ready to strain it and put it into our bottle. So we are going to take the lid off, and using a larger measuring cup today and a fine metal sieve, we're going to strain out the rosemary from the syrup like so. And again, we don't want to press down on the herbs because it'll release more of the bitter flavor, and there is a lot of rosemary going on in that maple syrup right now. Now we're ready to bottle our syrup, and I'm using this old rum bottle. I love the shape. It reminds me of a maple syrup jug. So I'm putting it into this bottle for a little bit of whimsy when I use it for my Northeast Kingdom punch this week. We'll pop on our funnel and pour the Rosemary-Cider maple syrup into our rum jug. So here we have a nice jug of our Rosemary-Cider maple syrup, and it's all ready for the Northeast Kingdom punch that's coming up on Shaking Things Up. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you picked up some tips on creating your own flavored syrups at home. Remember, always start with a basic simple syrup. It's great to have it around the house. And then build with flavors like citrus peels and spicy ginger, or dried herbs, fresh herbs, even florals. They're great for not only cocktails, but iced and hot beverages alike. And stay tuned to Shaking Things Up with Mark Addison because we're going to be using all of these syrups in upcoming cocktail videos. And as always, we're going to have all the recipes and product descriptions down below. And if you'd like a copy of Cocktail Chameleon, I'll even personalize it for you. And you'll receive all of these recipes and so many more. Thanks again for joining me today. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right there. We have a lot of videos, so here's what's coming up next.